Okay, we have no items on the consent calendar. Moving on to the regular calendar, item 1, Fairmont Campus Safe Parking Program. I believe Supervisor Miley is going to introduce this.
Good evening. It's good to be here at the Castro Valley MAC. You know, I don't often come to your MAC meetings, but when I do, it's because it's either something important or controversial. And this one is important. I don't think it should be controversial, but it's good to be here. The Fairmont campus is in the general plan area for the Castro Valley MAC. And so anything that the county does on the Fairmont campus, I want to make sure the MAC is aware of it. And it also gives the public an opportunity to be aware as well and to ask questions and to weigh in. You know, the Fairmont campus is the one location where the county has for services for vulnerable populations. You know, John George is up there, Juvenile Hall's up there, George Marks Center is up there. I mean, there's a number of things up there. GSA has their warehouse up there. So we've got a lot of things going on at the Fairmont campus. And so I visited the Fairmont campus maybe back in the fall of last year, because we've been trying to address this issue of homelessness, not just in the unincorporated area, but throughout the county, and it's a regional issue, the homeless crisis. And, you know, we've declared a shelter emergency in the county for homelessness. And when I went to the Fairmont campus, I went there because we have a number of homeless encampments on the Fairmont campus. I mean, they're homeless encampments. Many of them are out of sight in the unincorporated area. They're much more visible in other locations in the county, but we have a number of them. And on the Fairmont campus, we've got a number of county campgrounds there. And so the county needs to respond to this issue. It's a crisis. I've been pushing the county staff to come up with more of a response to the homeless crisis in Alameda County. We need to do our part. We expect cities to do their parts, but the county needs to do its part as well. The county's pumping in hundreds of millions of dollars into the homeless crisis over the next 3 years. And the county's created a homeless council made up of the Healthcare Services Agency. Colleen Shawa is here. Colleen's right there. She's the agency director for the Healthcare Services Agency, which includes, you know, four county departments: public health, environmental health, behavioral health, and healthcare administration. And so she's on the Homeless Council with the county administrator. They report to the county administrator. The head of our social services agency, Lori Cox, is right there. Lori Cox, and you know, our social services agency is the largest agency in the county, about $800 million, over 2,000 employees. And Chris Bazar, you know, you actually have the head of the community development agency here this evening. I know some of you might not recognize Chris Bazar. It's been a while since he's been to one of these community meetings. You know, Chris relies on his planners, but Chris is here this evening because he's on the Homeless Council as well. And then the probation chief and other sheriff's department and others participate on the Homeless Council, the library as necessary, and we have an operational team that's working to implement the county's response to homelessness, not just in the unincorporated area, but throughout the county. So we're here this evening because, you know, we've been working to try to come up with tiny homes in Castro Valley over at the First Pres. So that's another project, and the MAC is very aware of that. But over at Fairmont, we're also now looking to have safe car parking so that homeless folks who are working but living in their cars, living in vehicles, have a place to park their cars and park there safely. And the site would be screened, the site would be monitored by the Sheriff's Department, the site, you know, there'd be services provided. Also on the Fairmont campus, we're looking to build a navigation center so that the folks who are homeless and sleeping on the Fairmont campus presently and others in the area who are homeless would have a place to go to receive services and to receive shelter, the navigation center. So I wanted to make sure that the MAC and the public was aware of what the county was doing on that site. This is an informational update so that, you know, once again, we're very transparent. We're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. We're not trying to do anything that would be of a surprise, but we want to make sure that you're very cognizant of what we're doing and the public's aware of that, because this is a crisis and we need to be responsive to it. And as I said, I've been pushing the county staff to do something about the homeless crisis in our county, in the unincorporated area, et cetera. And this is a response to the sense of urgency that not only myself but the Board of Supervisors has been saying to our county staff. So with that being said, that's kind of like an overview to frame it. Dr. Clannon, who is in the Healthcare Services Agency and heads up our Healthcare for the Homeless effort, will be making the more in-depth presentations. I'll have Dr. Clannon come on up and do that now.
Thanks, Supervisor Miley. So I'm Dr. Kathleen Clannon. I'm the Medical Director for Healthcare Services Agency for the county's Health Department. And I'm here to talk to you about two things, as Supervisor Miley pointed out. One is a safe parking program, and the other one is as a navigation center, both to serve people who are homeless in the central part of the county. So you all know, because you have eyes, that we have increasing numbers of people who are homeless in all parts of the county, including in the mid-county area. We have an updated point-in-time count of people who are homeless that was done in January of this month. Maybe some of you participated in that. We know from the last count 2 years ago that 22% of the folks who were homeless at that time in the county were living in vehicles. People who live in vehicles are more likely to be first-time homeless. They're more likely to be employed and actually have significant income coming in, not enough to be in a house. But they are a different population than people who are living on the street. So our first program that we're going to bring up on the Fairmont site is really meant to address this particular population of folks. So there are safe parking programs in many counties and many of our communities here in Alameda County. That was good for us. We were able to do the research, finding out what they had experienced and what was working and not working for them. So we interviewed 12 programs and got documents from 14 to be able to benefit from their lessons. Generally speaking, safe parking programs allow the benefit to the people who are parking is that they have a place to do basic hygiene, to have a place to put trash, to have a place that they can sleep overnight and know that they will not be getting the knock on the door or on the window to move them on, and they know that they will be able to get services on the site where they are. The benefits to the rest of the community, in addition to the benefits to the parkers, are similar. If the parkers have access to hygiene, if they have access to trash, that means that they have places to deal with those issues that don't then end up affecting the neighbors nearby. Also, the neighbors know that there are then services that they can refer people to that they see, and there are places then for people to go who are currently parking in neighborhoods. So this was the first thing that we want to bring up on the campus. So what is a safe parking pilot is pretty simple. It means that you find a parking lot and you allow people to park there. We have a few things that we identified right away that we wanted to select in terms of who would be invited to participate in this. We're looking at between 12 and 15 people. We're going to start with single adults, not with families, having to do with the amount of services that we can provide right away. We said no RVs, cars only. People will be able to bring some possessions with them, and they will be able to have pets. If they have pets, they will have to apply for the program. People can't just show up and be part of the program. They have to apply, and we have to know that they have a functioning vehicle that can move, and that they have insurance and registration and a license to drive. So that's basically who we're thinking of serving here in this first iteration of safe parking. In terms of the where, the street that goes through the middle of that is Fairmont Boulevard, and the lots, there are 3 of these lots. The one that's farthest up the hill is currently in use for county vehicles and is a caged lot. The other 2, the middle lot and the lower lot, are currently used for public parking, but generally speaking are unused. In fact, I was there Friday at 11:30, there was nobody in either one of those lots. So that's part of why we identified them as potential sites for us to use for this purpose. You may know that this general location is actually going to be involved in a rebuild of Camp Sweeney on the property. So the program can only be there as long as until there's groundbreaking for that project. We don't know how long that'll be exactly, but if we get 18 months or 2 years out of it, we'll be happy in terms of being able to serve a lot of people in that area. So we're talking about using the middle lot. The reason for that is that it's flat, allows us to put in ADA accessible porta potties. It's a bit more difficult to do in the lower lot. So that's our plan in terms of the where. So in terms of some details about, so we talked about the who and about the how in terms of people applying. A few more details in terms of where we're going to look for participants and also what their experience will be in terms of program. We're going to start first by looking at the First Presbyterian Church's Safe Parking Program. They have some folks on a waiting list, so we know that those are folks who are interested in the program, and we will be reaching out to them first. We're also going to intersect with the other homeless serving organizations in the mid part of the county and ask them to help us identify appropriate people for this very first small pilot. Safety, obviously something that's important for us to focus on. We know that people who've written to us have questions about that. We're interested in safety and security both for the participants and the neighbors. You all know that the Alameda County Sheriff patrols the area of the Fairmont campus, so they are going to be able to do some extra attention to this area. We will have a program staff member whose job it is to both to welcome people to the site, to make sure that the right people are there that are supposed to be there, and also to deal with any problems that come up, both from residents and also if surrounding neighbors have any issues. So there will be the option always of calling the sheriff, but we will have an alternative 24/7 option for people if they are concerned about nuisance issues, a separate pathway to call to problem solve what's happening on the site. So in addition to that 24-hour support, phone support to the participants, we'll also have overnight security checks by sheriff, and we will have surveillance cameras that will be there that will allow us to track back if there are any issues. So that's it in terms of the safe parking. You may have other questions about that. I'm going to just quickly tell you a little bit about the Navigation Center, and we can come back to any questions that people have. So the Navigation Center is, at this point, the site that we're looking at is more towards the central part of the campus. A Navigation Center is, the concept of it is that it allows you to move a large number of people at a time, often out of an encampment or from different areas where they have been camping, into a location where it's not intended to be for people to be there for more than 3 to 6 months, but it is a transition zone between the street and permanent housing. They're temporary structures set up sort of like dormitories with dividers. They allow for people to get their papers together, get their plans together, and have some intensive time of services before they, so we can identify options for them to move forward. City of Berkeley, City of Oakland, and City of San Francisco are all investing heavily in this kind of program, and it seems to be working in terms of helping people to move from street into permanent housing. We are looking at modeling our program after the STAIR Center in Berkeley, which is a model that's tourable, it's up and running. And because we have to go out to bid for the structures, the modular units, this is probably a number of months away. So we have the opportunity to get input and then come back and talk to you more about it as the planning for that advances. So that's it in terms of presentation. What questions do you have for me?
Councilmember questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. Will there be a security guard or representative at each parking location 24/7?
No, there will not be somebody there 24/7.
Just like daylight hours, or do we know that yet?
We'll have program people there during the daylight hours and then check-ins over the night, but not somebody who's there 24/7.
No one during the middle of the night, right?
People
Right now.
checking in, but nobody's stationed
Okay,
there.
okay.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned the porta potties. I know First Press will have that. I'm not sure for the parking program now, they allow them to use the showers. Will you have a facility where they can wash up, meaning take a shower?
Yeah, there are mobile shower buses. Lava may be familiar with that group, and we will be contracting with them to come by on a regular basis. We probably won't be able to have that when we first open the program, but we'll be able to have that within a couple of months. And actually, we have in our budget we'll be able to purchase a bus like that, so we can serve multiple of those programs. And they have washing machines also for clothing.
How long do you think it would take before you're over capacity?
If we look at the other programs that we were able to talk to, it's not immediate. It takes a few months for people to find the right people. People living in their cars are really independent, and they, like I said, they're oftentimes working and relatively recently homeless, likely to be first-time homeless, and are oftentimes hanging on. It takes a little bit more work with them maybe to get them to accept some help. So we're anticipating that we're going to work really hard to get our first group of 12 to 15, and then we're going to see we're going to take some time to make sure that we see what works for them and also what works, in the environment before we move on to try to expand to any more people than that.
Do you anticipate families with children?
We would like very much to serve families with children. What it would take to be able to do that is for us to be able to have some space outside of cars for, some space for people to sit down and do their homework and, just be out of the car. And also requires more staff presence just because there are likely to be more complications. Also, the site is safe for adults, but it does have a few safety aspects we would want to work on before small kids are there. If the first 12 to 15 folks works well, or if we can't find 12 to 15 single adults, then we're going to immediately be thinking, who are the customers out there? Who are the people for whom this is the thing that will make the difference for them? And we will early on be looking at what does it take to bring in families.
I would anticipate, I would want to help people with children first. But have you thought about working with the East Bay Regional Parks? I mean, they have more property in the Bay Area than anybody. They already have infrastructure in place in their parking lots with bathrooms and things like that. And we as taxpayers paid for that property. And, I just look at it as, it's kind of out of a neighborhood a little bit, most of them, so it really doesn't disrupt what would be a neighborhood outcry about a problem. It just seems like to me East Bay Regional Parks would be a good partner in something like this.
All right. We will definitely explore that. Thank you.
These folks are in the neighborhoods already.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're here already. If they wanted to go to the park, they would go to the park. They're not going to the park. And for us to enter into contractual relationships with East Bay Regional Park, to put them in the park, would raise additional issues and concerns with East Bay Regional Parks as well as the patrons of the park. This is a county property that we deliver services to vulnerable populations. This is where we want to have this service to begin to implement this service. We're receiving, was it $16 million from the state? Was it 16 million? And how much have we allocated for unincorporated area? Okay, so we're allocating $1 million to address homelessness in the unincorporated area and on county properties. We have a big homeless encampment near the Coliseum in Oakland on flood control property. We're trying to deal with that. So this is a location we've identified for services, and I'm just trying to be honest with you. I don't want anyone to be fooled to think we're going to be running after East Bay Regional Parks and other people raising issues about why are you now coming to the park. We're trying to address this on county property where the homeless are, they're already there. they're already there, and if they're not on Fairmont campus, which they are, they're parking in their cars around Fairmont campus. So I just want to be honest with you, Chuck. I don't want Dr. Clannon to get up here and to kind of let folks think we're going to do something when we're really not going to do it.
I was only suggesting it, Nate, because I think we're going to be, that parking lot will be full quickly, and there's a lot of homeless out there, and I think it's a much bigger picture than one campus. And most of our parks have a gate across them at night, so people can't park in them. And
yeah, but trust me, if we try to start going to the parks, there are going to be people raising that as a concern. Why are you bringing homeless people and setting up a navigation center or safe car parking in a park? Trust me, they're going to do. Already in Oakland, people are saying folks are camping in the parks and they want them out of the parks. So I'm just saying, that's Oakland, it's not East Bay Regional Parks, but I'm just letting you know, it'll produce another set of problems and concerns. And as Dr. Clannon pointed out, we're going to do this gradually. We're going to monitor it, we're going to assess it, and we're going to reevaluate as we're going forward, and we can keep the MAC and the public informed of what we're learning and how we're progressing with this. So I'm not suggesting your idea is a bad idea. I just want to let you know why your idea could produce additional challenges for us and not help us get moving on a path to try to help folks who are sleeping in the parks, sleeping in the streets, and are unsheltered.
yeah, I just was thinking of people along the creeks and everything, around this area. A park would be a good place for them to camp. So, anyway.
Let's see. Any other questions, council members, at this time? We do have a bunch of speaker cards. I think you answered some of my questions, so you are going to coordinate with First Presbyterian Church. Do you have any idea what their backlog is?
Last I heard it was about half a dozen, but
Okay.
that was a couple weeks ago.
Okay. And so the map that was given to us, the second parcel is the navigation site? Okay. So if you're a neighbor or you're having an issue with what's going on in the parking lot there, how would somebody know how to contact this 24/7 individual? Is there going to be signage there or something for that?
Yeah, we're going to have there will be rules signs in terms of behaviors that'll be posted, and they will also include the line to call, because also people who are parkers can also call that line if they're having difficulty. So they'll be there. We'll also make sure to send out the contact to the list for this meeting, so that you all have it.
Okay, and then it's the navigation center is going to be built out of portables then, like mobile home type, prefab type?
Yeah, that's a term of art. Chris, can you say something about the exact form?
Yeah, maybe mobile home's not the best.
Yeah, I actually, Mark, I think we could bring in some drawings for you. It's not technically the right term. I should ask Albert to come in. Would you like a briefing on that? We could provide that, but,
I think it said on the PowerPoint
Yeah.
that you would when you got to that point.
Yeah, I mean, we will bring in the specifics, but I think, yeah, it's not technically a
I was-
mobile home. That's not the right term.
I wasn't sure if it was like a tent or,
No,
what.
no, it's much
Okay,
more
so
substantial than that.
Okay, and then, so will those buildings have showers integrated into them?
I think we will have showers built into, I'm not sure each one individually. Kathleen, do you know?
There'll be a shower
There is a
module,
facility in general.
and clothes washing, so that there'll be a toilets and a module that's a separate building.
Right.
And then a
On
couple-
site, it will be there, but not in each one individually, as I
Yeah,
understand it.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I just want to say, too, the navigation centers, we will have that set up for families. We
Yeah.
do plan on having families there.
So I got a number of speaker cards. We'll go through those, and then we can have you come back up if there's some follow-up.
And hopefully the MAC heard me say, too, this area is going to be screened. You won't you shouldn't even know it exists. General Services Agency for the county will screen that whole area off. I'm not talking about the navigation center, because that's internal into the Fairmont campus. But where the safe car parking is, that'll be screened, so the public will not even know it exists.
Did the Camp Sweeney, did that get delayed or something? Because I got a
Yeah,
like
Camp Sweeney has been delayed, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's delayed to the tune of, it's a costly delay, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike Jackson. After Mike, Patricia Soares has a letter here that we'll read.
You have to bear with me. I'm not typically a public speaker, but living in the Hillcrest Knolls neighborhood, there are several concerns that I have over this program. One of them being we're just starting to understand that this program is going to exist. I think we can all agree that the homeless situation within our area is out of control and it needs to be addressed. That said, we need to make sure that we're addressing it in a way that is sustainable, that does not create additional hardships, and that addresses the underlying issues. There's many, many things that I know we can all agree with that makes that very, very difficult to achieve. One of my fundamental concerns out of all of this is oversight. And when I say oversight, the first thing people are going to think of is the Sheriff's Department providing oversight, and while that is a component of it, that's certainly not what my chief concern is. My chief concern is measuring the success of this program, making sure that the areas surrounding the designated location are, at the very least, minimally impacted, hopefully not impacted at all. And, you know, people in this room, part of the concern is going to be property values and what's going to happen to crime rates, and we can go on and on and on. Those, to me, are the fundamental pieces of this. We cannot do this in a way where we're trading one problem for another. So all of that being said, we've got to look at the underpinnings of this program and ask ourselves the question, are we providing oversight in a way to achieve those goals and not have a detrimental impact to the community? Matter of fact, we should have a positive impact to the community by taking people that are living in places where, you know, under trestles, in various places, and we've all seen it. You can pick a spot and you can see encampments that are popping up. Those things have to be addressed somehow. Again, we have to look at this program in a very pragmatic fashion. We've seen some information tonight. What we've seen, though, is the tip of the iceberg. As somebody that lives in the Hillcrest Knolls neighborhood, I need more than the tip of the iceberg. If you want to see us support the program, we need to understand the program. We need to understand this is a program that's going to work for the community. Thank you. I'll wait my rest of my time.
Thank you. So we have a letter from Patricia Soares. Vice Chair will go ahead and read that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Patricia Soares, and I've been a safe parking resident for 2 years now at the First Pres Church. I've been homeless for almost 3 years now. The parking lot is for those who are in this current situation. A parking permit to stay overnight allows for a 6 to 8 week stay, give or take, and depending on the month. The rules are leave for 2 weeks, and after that, when a parking space becomes available, then you receive a phone call to get another permit and start over again. There are 10 parking spaces. Since I've been there, my stay has been safe with cameras and the Hayward Police making their rounds from time to time, making sure we're all safe from harm or any type of violence that may occur. In my present situation, I felt content and safe. It is a very busy parking lot and a lot of people coming and going from the streets and Trader Joe's. I keep my doors locked and stay to myself. All in all, I feel safe. We who are residents look out for each other and make sure we're okay, whether it's day or night. I am truly grateful and blessed to have a place to go thanks to Pastor Jake and Shittaz, who have made our stay at the First Pres Church possible, and most of all, feeling safe. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next is Ray Will. After Ray is Roxanne Stanton.
Thank you. My name is Ray Will. I'm a resident of Castro Valley, not far from Lake Chabot Park. I think any of us that are residents in Castro Valley or this general area are struck by how many homeless people there are. And I think what's also amazing is that in these good times, we're having good times economically, record low unemployment, and yet our homeless rate is growing. But the good news is we've got budgets that are looking good from our governments. And if we can do something now, it would be great to react to this problem. Sure, there's underlying causes that we need to investigate, but if we can get mobilized now while the money's available, and then adapt to what we learn as we go forward. As the prior speaker said, we need to, make sure that we have accountability, make sure that we have progress that we can measure, and move towards the direction that we want for getting people into a better situation. But if we can't mobilize now while we have the budgets available, what's going to happen when the economy turns in the other direction? So my concern is that we act with an air of urgency, that we get moving and try to see results as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Roxanne Stanton. After Roxanne is Tracy Pack.
My name is Roxanne Stanton, and I was a participant in the Union City Caravan program, and I'm also a night attendant for the program as well. Me and my kids, we utilized the program from June to October of last year. We were participants and everything in it, so I found it really useful and beneficial, and my main concern was keeping my kids and myself safe at night and everything. And during the day, I would be working, my kids would be in school, and just finding this housing and talking with the right people. We were able to get into a shelter, and eventually we got into our own place. So I really think this program is really beneficial for not only families with kids, but also single people as well. And I just hope that this program starts up so it can start benefiting others that really need somewhere safe at night for the program. Yes.
Thank you. Tracy Pack. After Tracy, Richard Hancock's.
Hi, my name is Tracy Pack, and I work for the City of Union City as a caravan attendant, and I also am actually a caravan participant as well. And I'd say I started out in this because I was in a situation where I was living with a friend, and her sister had a drug problem, and I couldn't take it because I don't do drugs, I don't drink, and it was just a bad situation altogether. So this is the alternative that they gave me, and it worked out wonderfully, so I don't have to worry about, all that things. And basically, about 70% of the people in this program, they actually work. And then the other ones, they may be on Social Security, that they don't have enough money coming in, that they can't afford. A room now is about $1,300 a month just to rent one room. If they have animals or, we've got families that have 2 kids, they have 3 kids. We've had up to 4 kids, families with 4 kids in this program. So it's a unique situation, and they all become like a family in this as well. And the way ours works is we move every night. We're there from 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning, and we move 7 days a week. And we have one place that we have showers and laundry that they can do throughout the night, and that's the senior center in Union City. And then the other sites, we provide the parking and bathrooms for them. And we have another site that actually has a kitchen set up where they can come in and cook and everything. So, and there's a lot of things that I've heard so far with this, and then there's a lot of concerns. We don't have a lot of problems with our participants, but we do have a site that is a school that we have problems with people coming into the school, and the police officers are there all the time. So it seems like, we don't make too much noise. We kind of try to hide out, and we put covers over our windows so nobody can see what's going on. And so we try to do the best that we can. But if you guys have any more questions, just let me know. I can tell you about, all kinds of exciting stuff. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Richard Hancock's. After Richard, Eve Holgate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to remind the council members that this is not, hey, we've got an idea, what do you think of it session tonight. This is, we're doing something, tell us what you think, and we're moving forward. I've talked with a number of my neighbors who got postcards saying, well, what the hell is this? Where did this come from? This is something that's been in the works for a while, I'm certain. These things don't happen overnight. And it's when we're completed with the planning and we're ready to implement that they come forward and tell us what they're doing. If you live near the Fairmont campus, you live next to a very bad neighbor, the county. This is where they put things that no one else in Alameda County would tolerate. Juvenile Justice Center, mental health centers, both county operated and contract operators. If the county's got something they have to put someplace that they know may upset people or concern people or worry people, it's the Fairmont campus. The homeless situation is tragic. But what's more tragic is when you're going to impose programs that when they fill up, where are the people going to go? Where are the people who want help going to go? Where else? They're going to hang around the community, the immediate community, waiting for their chance to get in. So it's only going to increase the amount of homeless people in the immediate area. The idea they're going to concentrate all this in one location means that one neighborhood, primarily Hillcrest Knolls, and also the Fairmont Terrace area to a lesser degree, are going to be the neighbors of these programs and any problems these programs create.
Next is Eve Holgate. After Eve is Lori Thibault.
Hi, my name is Eve Holgate. I've never come to one of these meetings, but
Can you pull the microphone down to your so we can hear you? There you go.
when my husband showed me this, I was like, oh. We've been thinking about this problem, and we're really sad about all the homeless people, and we know that it's a big problem. And but I think there are solutions, and I'm glad people are working on the solutions. I kind of do agree with what you're saying. We do live in an area that, you know, we already have the juvenile hall there, and we already have the mental facility there, and then you add more. You just are concerned, well, when is that going to stop? Oh, can't we spread it? You know, that's the concern for the neighbors right there. Can't we just spread it? Because, you know, this morning I woke up really early. I guess my subconscious was working on it. I wasn't planning to think about it, but I woke up like 3:30 in the morning and I didn't go back to sleep. I just decided, okay, I'm going to delve into this problem. Are there any other solutions? And I just got on the internet, and you know, I came up with this map that shows all that green area is unincorporated areas. And I kind of like the park situation, but a park specifically made for the homeless situation. You know, maybe, you know, there's a lot of green area where they could build these special parks for transition. And I think we really do need to help them. You know, this is not a new problem. This problem was found way back in ancient documents. It says, woe to those who add house to house and join field to field until there's no room for anyone else, and you live in splendor alone on your land. So, you know, we went out to explore the area in Alameda County this morning with my husband, and there's a lot of land out there. I'm just saying that some of these people need a place where they could homestead, you know, but you can't, the zoning laws are just terrible. They can't have a little spot where they could just create their own little farm and be subsistence farmers. I mean, a lot of countries do that. But our zoning situation just kind of like creates these people who cannot live in the middle of a city without a lot of help, you know. So I think there are solutions, but people have to be really creative. I just have an example here of a creative family. You know, this family was found on the internet, and it's called the Urban Homestead. And these 4 people produced 7,000 pounds of food on a tenth of an acre. You know, so most people have trouble working. I mean, I think that's wonderful. A family could do that, and a lot of people are very individual. They can't work with other people. So what if you just gave them, well, if you do the math, about 5,000 square feet where they could produce their own food. It would give them dignity. They could raise rabbits for meat. I mean, I'm just saying that I think the problem is that we're not going to solve this by trying to bring everyone up to our standards. Some people just need a place to be. They need a place to live on land. These are homeless people, but they're really landless people. They need some land where they could grow their own food.
Okay, I need to stop you there.
Okay, that's okay. Well, I just thought there are solutions. Okay.
Thank you. Lori Thibault. After Lori is Don Clark.
Hi, I'm Lori Thibault. I own a home in Hillcrest Knolls, and I have some obvious concerns. I have been before you before as we fought for the against the Camp Sweeney thing, which didn't work out for us.
Maybe it did because it's delayed, so.
Maybe. And I agree with this gentleman. It seems now this is the second thing that's shown up in my neighborhood. It concerns me very much, and I don't, it all sounds wonderful and flowery and happy and everything, but the real concerns that I have are crime and vandalism and traffic and the impact that this is going to have, and I don't see any way that this can impact my neighborhood in a positive way. And that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Don Clark.
Thank you. Don Clark, Hillcrest Knolls. I did just want to point out, as you've noted, this is the Camp Sweeney construction site, and there's actually an action item tomorrow on the Board of Supervisors' agenda to abate the landscape easement. So there is actually something happening tomorrow on your agenda on Camp Sweeney. Secondarily, the issue of oversight came up, and I just want to echo that sentiment that I'm concerned about that. I had some suggestions for this program, and they were sort of passed on. There's also no mention of when it's going to start or any discussion about transition. What is going to be done to get people from living in their cars into housing? How long is that going to take? How long do they anticipate people being in the program? And really, how viable is the site? So I had suggested having a day lot and a night lot somewhere else on Fairmont Terrace and a day lot, because this particular location is like the outer limits at night. No one drives by it. It's very secluded, which means there's a potential for a lot of problems. But if this functioned solely as a day lot, then there might be more sort of eyes on it, activity, and there wouldn't be any issues regarding crime, which is one of the things that continues to come up regarding the residents, especially in Hillcrest Knolls. So I don't know if this is necessarily ready for prime time. Again, unless I missed it, I don't even know when we're supposed to sort of kick off. But I think this program has a lot of fine tuning. It does help homeless people. People do need housing. And they do need a way to also, sleep, maintain their dignity. That's another, there's sort of no discussion about, really an in-depth discussion about how they're going to maintain hygiene, potable water, sanitation, any of those things. I think there seems to be a lot of ideas, but there's really nothing concrete and ready for this program to actually launch. So those are all my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Fritz. After David is Bob Mapes.
My name is David Fritz. The main thing I want to talk about is not related to this, but I just want to let you know that I am trying to stave off homelessness myself, and I have a bachelor's degree, and I'm a retired teacher, and if anybody in this room thinks it can't happen to them, you're in a fool's paradise, because it can. Okay.
Cheryl Moralia. Cheryl?
Good evening, council members and staff. I wasn't sure if I was going to speak tonight, but I would like to commend the Homeless Council, as I think it's a great first step in addressing the crisis we have here. Having said that, I think it's just a step and that a lot more needs to be done. We see more and more homeless every day, and I don't know about you, but in these last storms with the rain and the wind, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I think about the people that my church brings food to, the encampments around Castro Valley, and wonder about them with no shelter and in the mud and in the cold. In terms of what we have in front of us, I'd like to hear what other services the people who are parking here would be receiving. Will there be a program to help them get housing? We heard a letter tonight about from a woman who has been at the First Pres for 2 to 3 years. I don't consider that a success. Being there for 6 weeks, leaving for 2, or whatever it was, coming back. There needs to be some way to transition these people. We also heard about screening, but I would like to hear more detail. Screening can mean a lot of different things, and I believe this safe car parking is a good idea, but I think we need to be sensitive to the neighborhood as well. Additionally, I'd like to know, or rather make absolutely sure, that this site is only for the homeless in the unincorporated area, that this $1 million of the $16 million that we're getting is to address the homeless crisis in our area. I'm okay with the use of this county parking lot, which is doing absolutely nothing now. To address the homeless crisis we have here, I would not be okay with using it to bring people from outside while the people that we have here still need help. One thing I would like the Homeless Council to look at is that there is another piece of property up the hill that has been vacant for years that used to be the Fairmont Animal Shelter. And I think DSAL got it. It was supposed to be part of Dig Deep Farms or something, but nothing has happened there. I drive by it every day, and every day I think, why can't we be doing something? Why can't we be using this, whether it's to put little homes on, to use that big empty, and I don't know what it looks like inside, but there's a big empty like barn-like structure, but at least that's something that's shelter. Anyway, I do think there are other areas in the county that we could probably use, but right now for this pilot program for 12 to 15 people, I think it's a great start. Thank you very much.
I have a card from Stephen Lee, doesn't say what you want to talk about. Is that this item? Yes. Okay.
Good evening, Council. My name is Stephen Lee, and I have over a decade working with homeless families over here in Building Future in San Leandro, Alameda Point Collaborative in Alameda, Oakland Housing, Berkeley Housing, all the housing pretty much in the Bay Area. And I can tell you that firsthand that what works and what doesn't work in these homeless programs. And I can assure you that this program will not succeed because there is no go in these type of program. What this is going to create is basically havoc for the Hillcrest No community, because the fact is that it's too close to the communities. You have children that play around the park around there, and there's already a lot of nuisance from the John George Pavilion. So it's already a dangerous place as it is for my kids to play out there, but creating more problem in this area will just destroy the neighborhood. Whoever done this visibility, of us limited visibility to Hillcrest No, obviously does not live there. They are not seeing it from their house, but I can see it from my house. And I could have pictures right here that basically show you exactly what it looked like across the street. I believe the county can actually redirect the money to like program like Building Futures and not create these kind of programs. Because working in the homeless community, I know exactly where all these monies are not being used. And so the fact is that if the county has money, they can actually donate it to like Building Future, like Alameda Point Collaborative. There's a lot more spaces in those programs that actually could house these homeless families. But this is not the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other speaker cards on this item. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak on this item besides you? Just checking to make sure public comment is done. Yeah, come on up, Supervisor Miley.
So if the council and the public doesn't mind, there were a number of questions that were raised. I'd like to be able to respond to some of them and have the staff respond as well. Might be Dr. Clannon, at least to provide some information. And I do think the questions that were raised by folks, the questions and concerns, are legitimate questions and concerns. So let me, and I just kind of wrote a list down here. It's in no particular order, but let me just try to go through this. In terms of oversight, once again, trying to be transparent, we have no problem with oversight. If we want to have a committee from the MAC helping with oversight, that's fine. If we want to have a select committee like with Don and others working with us to provide oversight and monitoring, we can do that as well. I have no problem with that to make sure that we're having accountability and oversight, because everybody, I think, is compassionate to recognize we need to try to address the need. In terms of the animal shelter, that's going to be a food hub. DSAL's been working on a food hub, and it should be opening this year as well. So that's not available. It's good seeing you too, Cheryl. Then Mr. Hancock is right. We put a lot of services on the Fairmont campus. There's no hiding from that. There's no denying that, because that's why the site's there, so we can put services. Every place the county tries to put services, guess what happens? People say, not in my backyard, we don't want these services. So the county has at least certain locations in the county where we can put services. The Fairmont campus is one of those locations. That facility at the Fairmont campus was set up for service delivery long before I was the county supervisor. So the county's just making use of available property to provide services. We don't anticipate folks coming in from the outside to receive these services. We do expect that the folks that are going to be there will probably be from the unincorporated area. The staff could speak to that more specifically, but we probably wouldn't deny other people the opportunity if that comes up in the screening process. The staff's been working on this for a few months. This hasn't been something that's been in the works for months or years. It's been in the works, I'd say, for maybe the last 4 months or thereabouts. The state, through the governor's office, appropriated funding, and the county, along with the city of Oakland, received funding for homelessness. And like I said, I believe ours was $16 million. Ours was $16 million. $16 million. And so we've appropriated some of that money to go to Berkeley, the city of Oakland, Fremont, Hayward, other jurisdictions to work on the homeless issue. We're retaining some of the resources to work on the homeless issue in the unincorporated area and around county properties like the flood control channel at the Coliseum area, where we have a large homeless encampment. So I just want to let you know, this hasn't been something that we've been kind of cooking up for the last year or more. It's just recently that we've thought that we need to try to address this with the funding that the state's providing, and the state wants this money to be utilized to address the homeless crisis, not 5 years down the road, but now. The state is looking for immediate answers and immediate responses to the homeless crisis. They're not looking for something long term. They're looking for us to deal with the immediate problem. To address the problem long term, we need to come up with more shelter beds. We need to come up with more housing supply, because it's an issue of we don't have enough supply, and it's also very expensive to live in the Bay Area. So it's really a quagmire that we find ourselves in. So we're trying to be responsive to the problem and the concern. The homeless are always going to be with us. The poor are always going to be with us. What we have now is a crisis. We have a crisis now. It's never been this extensive. I've been a county supervisor for 18 years. I've been on the Oakland City Council for 10 years. I've dealt with issues and problems for 30 years or more, even before I was an elected official. This issue of homelessness is a crisis. It's never been this extensive. I think it's kind of come about maybe in the last 5 years or thereabouts. And we've been trying to work to come up with an approach at this. There is no magic answer. Somebody got up and said that this isn't the solution. We're not saying this is a solution. This isn't the panacea. This is just part of an approach to try to look at the bigger issue, the bigger crisis. This is not the solution. We recognize that. and try to put people at Alameda Point. The folks that are living out here that are homeless are not going to travel to Alameda Point. We need to address the problem out here. That's what we're attempting to do. So no, this is not the solution. This is just an approach to try to help address a portion of the problem that exists out here. It's not even going to address the problem totally out here. But it's our best foot forward at the moment. We do want to assess this. We do want to be transparent around this. We do want to receive input. We do want to respond to the issues and concerns. We don't want to devalue your property. We don't want to devalue your property. As one person spoke, we want this to be, if anything, cost neutral to your quality of life. If hopefully it improves your quality of life. I take my job representing all of you in the unincorporated area very, very seriously. But I also take my responsibility to provide services to vulnerable populations very seriously. We do want to come back if the MAC would like us to. The staff, I don't want to tell them the staff, they didn't even want to come to the MAC. They didn't want to come to the MAC. But because I'm the county supervisor and I respect all of you and the public, I said you're going to come to the MAC and you're going to let the MAC know what we have planned and what we're thinking. But you're right, Richard, this isn't an action item, this is an informational report because we have to do this. And then the transition and all the other details, how long they're going to be there, what the detailed plans are, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe Dr. Clannon can speak to some of that, and if she can't speak to it tonight, we'll come back and we'll lay all that out for you. Do you want to say anything, Dr. Clannon?
So some of the questions that we got, one of them was, when will it start? Do you have a start date yet?
It was our plan to start this month.
This month, okay. And there was a concern about transition. Is the idea to transition these people to the navigation center, or have you guys got that far in the planning process yet?
It's not a typical kind of, usually people in the navigation centers are folks that are starting actually at a more impacted level than people who are in their cars. So we're planning for a 6-month outside, a 6-month outer limit, but hoping for less than that. And in terms of program, what we'll have is housing navigation and also case management. Part of the screening will be that people will have to agree to participate with those services. They won't have the option not to participate if they want to come in to the program. And through those things, we'll look with them at their income, or ways to raise their income, ways to reconnect with family, and what programs they may be eligible for if they're veterans or if they have other special circumstances. We will have trained housing outreach folks that'll be coming a couple of times a week to work with people, and as well as other services that'll come to the site.
Your outreach people, because I assume, at least I know that's how it is with the Presbyterian Church, they're there from like 8 p.m. to 7 a.m., so your outreach people are going to be there at night helping these people, or how's that working?
So what our plan at this time is that people will start with people being able to stay there day and night. The programs where people have to leave in the morning, generally that's because there's a use for the parking lot that requires that people leave. If people have to leave, then there's a caravan of cars coming in and going out again twice a day. And also the potential for people, if they have to leave during the day, then for them to go nearby in order to save gas and wait until they can get back in. So for those reasons, we decided to make it a 24/7 program, so people will be able to stay there during the day, and that will be a time we'll be able to connect them with outreach.
You're only going to allow people to go in and out twice a day? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm sorry. I confused you.
Okay.
There are programs, like the one of the programs in Union City, where you may only park in the lot at night. So you can come in at 7 p.m. and then you have to leave again at 7 a.m. And that's because the parking lot is for a senior center and is used during the day. So we contemplated that model, and ultimately felt that it was better both for the parkers and also for the residents, for there not to be that coming and going. So we anticipate we'll fill it up with our first 12 to 15 folks, and that we will then have turnover as people find housing. But there's not going to be a fresh flood of people coming in and out. This is going to be a contained group of people.
The people that are there are going to be able to come and go as they
Yes.
please. They're not limited. Okay.
That's right.
For various work hours or whatever. Why did the unincorporated area only get 7% of the money when we have much more than that population-wise? And since we only got pennies basically, why should that be spent on people from cities when the cities are getting 93% of the money already?
I'm going to look to my
Because
colleagues
that
here.
question came up as well. I might have rephrased it.
So we, yes, I'm Colleen Chavla. I'm the director of the Healthcare Services Agency. And when we got the HEAP, it's called HEAP money, Homeless Emergency Assistance Program money from the state, we looked at the homeless count in Alameda County, and we allocated the $16 million based on unsheltered homelessness across the county. So each city in the county and the unincorporated area got their proportion of unsheltered homeless, their proportion of $16 million that represents unsheltered homeless.
Okay, that makes sense. So then why would we allow people from the cities into the program then?
I think particularly in this car parking program, people are mobile, and so they are moving from place to place so that they don't get ticketed or bothered in different places. So they may be homeless in the unincorporated area at some time. They may be homeless in adjoining cities at some time, but they're at least in this safe parking. They're people that move about. The other point is that particularly on the Navigation Center. You know, as a county, we are responsible for safety net services for all individuals. In healthcare in particular and social services, we're responsible for the healthcare safety net for individuals. And we really feel strongly that healthcare and homelessness have a strong connection. And so there is also a need for us to care for those individuals on the property that we have available to us. I think that one of the benefits of the Fairmont campus is that right now we have limited places for people to go that are within our own control, that we have access to. Many of the shelters and so forth are run by cities. So in areas where there are homeless encampments in unincorporated area, we have limited places to refer people. And so the Fairmont campus will allow us to refer people who are outreach workers who are working in the unincorporated area into facility that is within our control. So I think I answered it in two ways. One is that we are going to do our best to retain people who are in the unincorporated areas to utilize these services. But people are moving about, and so they're not always in the unincorporated areas, and we have a responsibility countywide. So I think all of those things together are the response to your question.
Mr. Chair, could I just add, I wanted to make it clear to the council and members of the community that as a homelessness council, both my colleagues and the Board of Supervisors, we've been extensively looking at properties, not just in the unincorporated county, but the entirety of county-owned properties. We had the General Services Director sit down with us, and he's one of the members of the council who from time to time attends, and one of the exercises he's been doing is looking at everything really that the county owns that could be a potential resource. And Ms. Maraglia mentioned earlier some possibilities. I think I just want to assure you that the Fairmont campus is obviously a resource that we're looking at and focusing on at this moment, but there are a number of others that are in the pipeline or potentially in the pipeline. And some of them are actually in incorporated communities, because one of the aspects of this issue is that it doesn't really adhere to geographic boundaries. So we wanted to carve out an unincorporated chunk of money and focus on the problem, because obviously as the county, we have both a dual responsibility for the entirety of the region in Alameda County, but also specifically for our unincorporated constituents. So we're trying to do both things at the same time, but I want to assure you that we are really not just trying to carve it out and focus on it right here. We're really looking at quite a number of other properties, and as part of further briefings, we can share that with you in the future. I also just wanted to add one other thought. We heard a lot about oversight and concern about I think generally security was one underlying theme. I did want to mention, I know we have the Sheriff's Department in the back of the room here today, but one of the things we're absolutely focused on in this, we have extensive coordination with all of our county departments on this. We meet extensively on a fairly constant basis. And the Sheriff's Department is a component of this. One of the things that is very much factored into our thinking is, as you know, we have the Eden substation right down the hill, right? It's extremely close. We have great connection with, as you do, with our Sheriff's Department, our representatives, and we know and work with them very closely. And we think that will be a resource to ensure that the patrols will be very, they'll be dealt with pretty extensively in that area. So we really think we can make that work, despite the fact that you don't have formal 24/7 security on site in that formal sense. But we're really confident we can work with the Sheriff's Department and make sure that any concerns any of you have in the audience can be addressed.
Mr. Chair and members of the MAC and the public, just to kind of co-sign something that Chris Bazar, the head of a community development agency, said is, for instance, we're looking to try to see how we can set up a homeless village near the Coliseum. I can't disclose to you at the moment whether or not the Raiders will be playing there again this coming year. You'll know that very soon. But if the supposed Raiders aren't there, that produces an opportunity for us to set up a homeless village there. So we're looking at a lot of different locations to set up homeless villages throughout the county. So as the director pointed out, it's not just at the Fairmont campus. We're looking at county properties, public properties, not parks. People don't want us to use parks. I'm letting you know that for sure, Mr. Moore. They don't want us to use parks where we can do this, because the homeless have rights, but all the rest of us who are not unsheltered have rights too. So we're trying to balance those equations. And the Sheriff's Department works very closely with us around addressing homeless issues out here, much more closely as a law enforcement entity than other police departments.
Council members, any other questions or comments?
I got a comment.
have a question.
You drive through Mare Island out there and you see all of the barracks that we had for our military folks that are closed down, and some of the Alameda Naval Air Station. I mean, the government, we've had the property, and if it was good enough for our military, I don't understand why we couldn't use some of that property that, whether it was federal government or state government, whatever, used. I mean, this is a huge problem, and not to use parks property. Hey, listen, as far as I'm concerned, we all have to contribute. And if you have government land out there that we can use for this problem, I think we should look at it. And the people that vote for all these bond issues for the Parks Department maybe should vote for using some of that for the homeless, Nate. And I feel very strongly about helping these folks, and we have resources out there, and everybody says, like I said, Parks Department is a typical example. It was not in my backyard. We own this property. This is a park. No, come on. So I'm going to keep hammering it.
Okay, yeah, keep hammering, but I just want you to know that I think if we try to use parks, people are going to get really upset about that. And then as relates to all the military bases that are shuttered, once again, that might not be in the county's jurisdiction. The Alameda Point, that's in the city of Alameda. The naval base in Oakland, that's in Oakland's jurisdiction. Mare Island, that's in Vallejo. So as a county, we can partner and collaborate with any governmental entity, nonprofit entity, business entity that wants to partner with us. But right now, what we're doing is trying to take control of what we have control of, as the director from the healthcare agency pointed out, what we can control. Because often what the county will do is the county will blame everybody else for not doing the job around trying to address a problem. Well, hey, what are we doing to address that problem in our own jurisdiction where we have the authority to do that? So this is within our control, and maybe, like I said, it's not meant to be a panacea. It's not meant to be the solution. It's meant to be part of an effort at helping to address a crisis.
So today, I had the opportunity to hear some issues raised. I know it's the city of Alameda, but from what I understand, that they would also entertain helping other people from other areas, seniors, veterans, homelessness, on a parcel that, I don't know if it was GSA owned or who owned it, but apparently the city planning granted this use for 3 years. And now there is a Measure A and a Measure B, because there are some people in the city of Alameda now that want those, I don't know if it's 2 buildings or 3 buildings that they were going to use for that, declared open space. And so there's 2 competing ballots on a mail-in ballot. Are you familiar with that or where that's going?
I'm not familiar. I don't know if any of our staff's familiar with that. No, there are.
It's near Crab Cove.
Yeah, Crab Cove, yeah.
Are you familiar with that, Doctor? Yeah, okay. Doctor.
That's a shame.
So that facility is actually federal land. It was housing, actually, I think in World War II vintage housing, and then had a number of different uses over the past few years, but had been vacant for some time. And the federal government made it available. Different groups could apply for use. A collaborative, the Alameda Point Collaborative that was mentioned earlier, which is a housing collaborative, applied to do 2 things with the site: to have a clinic and respite, which is short-term places for people to be who need a little extra health care, who are homeless, and then to have permanent supportive housing, specifically for people who are homeless and are older and disabled. So the federal government granted the use to the Alameda Point Collaborative. They now took possession of that land. And the question of what will happen depending on the votes is complicated based on the federal jurisdiction and the nature of the use permit.
But what I heard was what they wanted to do was, open space, open parks, but the city doesn't have the money, nor will they ever have the money to develop that into a park. So if Measure B passes, it just sits empty.
It's federal land anyway. It sounds like a waste of time. Ken, you had something you want to say?
Well, I just had the only thing I really wanted to say was there was some concerns that were brought up with the speakers. One of them, I don't think ever got addressed, and it was a question that you asked, and I'm curious because, you're talking about working homeless, so the majority of them will be working during the day. So I heard you ask, so you're going to have some of your staff out there helping with these working homeless that aren't there during the day. So, and you then turned it into 24 hours a day, but I don't imagine that you're saying your staff's going to be there at night working with people while they're working during the day. So how is that actually going to be handled? Or did you really answer it in that, because it was kind of lengthy, I got lost. Did you actually, how did you answer that?
The same way that the staff do now with outreach to people who are unsheltered, that they do, they have flex times, and so they work during the day. They also work in the evening time, and once they make a connection with a person, then they can make appointments to meet people, even before and after their jobs. So it can be challenging if somebody is never there during the daytime, is working in a job that's very distant. And that'll be one of the things we'll have to look at with screening, because we have already decided that the criterion will be that people have to be able to participate in services.
Thank you. The only other thing too is to address some of the comments. If Sergeant Schuler could please come up. So knowing your history in community outreach and all the things that you're involved in our community, let's talk about the Trader Joe's location. So the people that are, we've been working on this for quite a while now with First Press, and why don't you share some of your concerns? Do we have any calls for service that are over and above any of the other areas in the community? What do you find there? Because I know you guys patrol there on a regular basis, and why don't you can share that with us?
So one thing regarding the Trader Joe's, or not the First Presbyterian
right.
in that area, is prior to their, just speaking in terms of calls for service, we expect calls for service are going to go up, obviously. Prior to the safe parking program at First Presbyterian, the calls for service were fairly minimal. and they have increased quite substantially in the 2 years since they've started that program. They also have the warming shelter and then the winter shelter, and so you have more and more homeless folks associated to that given corridor. Anytime you have that, you're going to see an increase for calls for service, and I think that's where I think I heard it in several comments is you can't look at just one spot to provide these resources for everybody. It has to be looking at different areas that either locations, community-based organizations, churches, county-run facilities, whatever, throughout the county. So this is just one component of that. So as far as calls for service, we absolutely expect calls for service are going to increase. One thing that First Presbyterian Church does have is they have overnight security. So they do have somebody there during the nighttime hours as oversight. It sounds like this program where it's at right now, that is not a component of it. And that is a concern for the sheriff's office. We have deputy sheriffs that patrol that sector. And those are the deputy sheriffs that are going to be required to do patrol checks there and address any kind of criminal activity or nuisance activity and so on and so forth.
You combined a couple of things there. We're talking, because First Pres, I think, has gotten involved in more than just the the working homeless that were in the cars. Like you said, the warming shelters and some of the other things that are they're basically creating a saturation in that area, unlike kind of what was proposed here, where it was working homeless in the vehicles. And that was pretty much their place. So I didn't mean to bring all that into one, but there's no way of separating.
I just took advantage of that opportunity to because those are some of the concerns that I have.
Those are very important.
And we look at First Presbyterian Church as a model that actually is in our community. We don't have many examples of that. So in looking at it, we have analyzed those calls for service, and we have met with First Presbyterian Church, their staff, and gone over these concerns and talked about different ways to mitigate those. So yeah, in the 2 years since the safe parking program has been in operation on First Presbyterian property, the calls for service are substantially more than they were prior to.
Can you share what kind of services, what type of calls that you're getting?
So a lot of it is argument stuff, disturbing the peace. We've had some 5150s, some mental health issues, fights. Generally, a lot of nuisance type, not a lot of serious crime, but a lot of nuisance type crime, or calls for service, where it's not generating a lot of arrests or it's taking a lot of staff time, but it is going addressing. And it could be that people that want to take part in that program that there isn't a space for them, and so there might be in an argument with the church, and the church is saying, "Hey, I don't have a space for you right now." It could be as simple as that, or two people that don't get along, and where we have to mitigate an argument or a fight between them.
I asked about that when we were evaluating the Presbyterian Church application, and I was told that there wasn't an increase in calls for service, or at least it wasn't. So I don't know if you guys have done a deeper dive since then.
And who's told you that?
I thought you referred me to it was someone who pretty far up the chain of command. I want to say it was at least the lieutenant.
So if you would have asked me specifically, I would have provided you those calls for service, because I have them. I've been involved in that since the inception of it, because we deal with the community-based issues, and we're very familiar with the First Presbyterian Church prior to their program, also because we have our fundraising barbecue there. So we have seen a transition there, and you are absolutely going to see an increase in calls for service when you start addressing this type of population. It's going to happen. So,
this being a little bit more isolated, is it? I mean, they're really different locations. So, that parking lot's pretty isolated. So, if there's a couple people out there yelling at each other, is anybody even going to hear it? Trader Joe's is
I mean,
Trader
probably
Joe's.
if people are yelling on that at midnight, if people are yelling, that will carry, especially with the way that the topographic is laid out. It's going to carry over into Hillcrest Knolls. We're going to hear about it, and actually, we want to hear about it, and that's where I would be an advocate for having a security, so someone there with oversight overnight, because when people are yelling, that's when we want to get involved, because we want to get involved before it raises to the level of now people are starting to fight, and now people are, it's escalating. But I do think that if people are yelling, we should know about it. I think people will hear it, given there's no traffic on Fairmont Drive at midnight, so it's quiet, and the homes are fairly close, and the backdrop is as a hill, which is going to project the noise to the north, in my opinion.
I think you're right. Okay, any other questions for the sergeant?
Well, I don't have one for the deputy, but I have one for the doctor.
Okay.
Just in closing, we have been involved in every step of trying to figure out what this program is going to look like. We've voiced our concerns. We were involved with the homeless committee and with the homeless council, and then we have an encampment response team, and we're heavily involved in trying to come up with solutions to these problems. And one of the solutions is we have to have housing, or even if it's we have to have solutions for places for people to go. We come in contact where homelessness is not a law enforcement issue necessarily. It's not a criminal offense, but we come in contact oftentimes with a lot of homeless folks, and a lot of those homeless folks are the most problematic, the ones that are in encampments and the ones that are on the park benches, but there's a lot of population other than that's out there. We don't see it every day, and a lot what we do is most times encampments and those type of places where we encounter homeless, they can't be there a lot of times because it's trespassing. If you want to take who's on the Fairmont campus camping right now, they're all trespassing. Our solution is, well, you can't be here, but I don't really know where you can be. So call 211, but if I come back, you're likely going to get arrested. So the county is, I think, trying to get ahead of this. There is money out there. I think they're trying to do what they can to get their piece of the pie so that we can address homelessness that we are currently experiencing, and this is just one component of that. So, and we are heavily involved in it. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. If I heard you correctly, you said, I'm not sure if you said many or several of these people have significant incomes. You had mentioned that in the beginning. My question is, do they have a responsibility, or I should say more, an opportunity to help pay for their services, such as washing their clothes and the other services, in the fact that I think it goes far to maintain your dignity, knowing that you're helping out your own situation, especially if you have a significant income and you're not, living free, so to speak. I just think I'd feel better for myself if I was helping out my situation, and I could, so.
So we haven't contemplated that so far. Thinking that having people save whatever income they have to be able to, overcome the barriers to getting back inside. But I think that what you're talking about in terms of people having some meaning and feeling the sense of responsibility is a real thing. But so far we have not contemplated that.
Are you open to the idea of an oversight committee that includes area residents?
Yes.
Okay. I heard somebody say something about security cameras. So who would be monitoring those?
That's GSA will be responsible for placing them, okay. And I don't actually know the plan for that in terms of they have a security contract, so it would be I don't know who it is that's watching the cameras or whether it's only after the fact.
Okay. So when you come back, can we get an answer to that? Because that was one of the conditions of approval we had for the First Presbyterian application, because those are I don't think somebody needs to be sitting there watching them the whole time, but we certainly wouldn't want to wait, 3 days for a GSA person to show up and download something to a thumb drive, right? I mean, that could be pretty slow. Is there any other questions, council members?
So, Mr. Chair, members of the MAC, I appreciate your patience with us on this because it's a very important issue, and thank you for the time you've allotted us. And the First Presbyterian site and this site at Fairmont, they're similar, but the one big difference is this is going to be government run, operated, overseen, etc. So when the sergeant was speaking, this is a county site, and I do expect the county folks to be doing the job to make sure that this site provides quality and also doesn't impact the quality of life of the neighborhood. And we would like to come back 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, whatever you'd like, to report out to you and the public how things are progressing and to get feedback as well. And then the one last thing is that we just appreciate the fact that we have a place that we can try to accommodate these concerns, because otherwise, like I said, we're often encountered with people don't want us to provide services to people in their backyard, and we have challenges finding locations. So that's why we're looking at the Fairmont campus as well as other locations that are owned by the county of Alameda.
So is there a chance that maybe they could come back in 30 days and we could get a report out? I'd really like to see this oversight committee, actually constructed and have people in the community, certainly Don Clark, maybe
right.
Richard, if you're into it, or others, because they're the ones that are going to be living there with this. They should have that much say, I think, in what's going on.
Yeah, we can look at putting that together. So 30 days from today or 30 days after it becomes operational?
Yeah, I think it'd be okay to let them get started,
okay,
but not too far
yeah,
after that, because there may be concerns. And if that committee hasn't been constituted by then, maybe the fact that it's coming back to us might nudge it into existence.
Right. Okay, all right. So, yeah, we'll definitely be back, I think, before June, because this is March, April, May. Yeah,
okay.
Before June. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.